What's up everyone? Welcome to the weekly rundown. I'm your host Matt from MultiTech Visions, and today is Wednesday, August 4th. Last week we saw several updates to the editor interface. SSL encryption is now possible with MySQL databases. There's a new expression engine you can opt into, as well as a bunch of bug fixes. Let's get to the details. First, I want to point out there's a new person that's given all the release details. It's no longer William, now it's Liz. Thanks Liz, appreciate all your work. Workflows can now be converted to bots. A button is now available on each workflow that will convert the workflow to a bot. Support for converting reports will be added in the future. In continuing their efforts to phase out workflows and reports in exchange for automation, they're releasing more and more tools to help smooth that process over. And so that's what this is. If you go to any of your apps that have some workflows still on them, you'll find there's now a button that will upgrade this workflow to a bot. Create and view buttons enabled when you are creating a task without requiring that you save the task. The following actions are available when you are creating a task without requiring that you save the task beforehand. The Create button is now displayed, and the View button are now displayed. So what they're talking about here is we go to a automation task, and inside here, beforehand, these Create and View buttons weren't there when you first initially created your task. You'd have to save it, then come back, and then the buttons were available. Now, when you first initially create that task, they're going to be there right away, so you can just keep moving forward. Warning displayed if comma-separated list of emails is specified. When adding email recipients, you must add each in a separate field unless you specify an expression. If a comma-separated list is specified in any email field, such as the to field, the CC, or the BCC, or the reply to, a warning is now displayed. So what they're talking about is the place where you actually specify the emails that could be sent. This field right here. This field is expecting a single email. And so if I have this turned on to text and I come inside here and I say another@email.com, this is going to cause an issue because the system is expecting just one email inside this field when I have it turned on to text. So when I do something like this, it's going to cause an error. So now if you do that, you're going to get that error. To solve the problem, what you really need to do is you could just go into, turn this into a formula and come in here and say list and then MultiTech Visions and then literally comma separate out all of your emails, putting them inside double quotes. And this is going to be an acceptable value to use inside this field because we're not specifying that it's a single email. We've said this is a formula, and this is a legit formula. It's a list of some text strings, and the text strings are some emails. Expressions, new option for faster and more consistent comparisons. They added a new option for faster and more consistent comparisons under Data, Options, Expressions, Blank Value Comparison Mode. For more information, see they have an actual announcement. So on the actual announcement, I'll just read this out. We will enable the option for expressions and apps to use the new behavior for comparison operators. They're talking about equal sign, less than, does not equal, greater than, and equal than, all of those little things, right? The current behavior will be called the legacy option, and the new behavior will be called the consistent option. The ability to change an app between legacy and consistent will be added under Data, Options, Expressions, Blank Value Comparison Mode, and you can see that here. So if you go to Data, and there's a new section up at the top called Options, and inside that there's this little card of expressions, and then this legacy or consistent toggle. This has been deployed to 100% of free users now, still slowly being rolled out. But what this deals with is if you had, let's say we had a number field, right? And I wanted to put some validation on that to where I could say whatever number that this person entered is greater than 1, right? Okay, the problem that would happen is that when the field was blank, the validation was kind of weird sometimes. And that's just one of the scenarios to take into consideration. There's a whole bunch of other things. This is this is a deep topic, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details here. If you go to the announcement that's been put out into the community, there's a link here that you can click on where you can get more information about what this is all about. But yeah, you can read through all of this if you really want. Basically, the crux of the thing is there's two things to keep in mind with this. First thing, there's a performance boost. So they've increased the efficiency for things that run on the consistent option. So when virtual columns are computed during the sync time, right? They've found a way to squeeze some more efficiency out of the system. So that's a good thing. But another thing, the real thing that this is really important about, the consistency in comparisons. That whole blank is greater than 1, or all of the other various combinations where the first thing is blank, that would typically cause problems. Now, with the consistent mode turned on, the app will more accurately reflect what's really supposed to be happening with the logic. One of the frequently asked questions is, why is this an opt-in? Since it changes the behavior for how comparison operators handle blank values, the consistent option is not strictly backwards compatible with existing expressions. We've made both behaviors available to give app creators time to adapt to the new behavior. In several months, the app editor will begin explicitly encouraging use of the new behavior. Eventually, the old behavior will be removed entirely. There's a lot to unpack with this, so if you want to know more information, I suggest you go and check out the actual announcement that was released in the community. The billing link under My Account in the editor top nav bar is now hidden for corporate customers. Corporate customers do all of their billing through sales, so there's no need to see that page. New homepage. A new homepage is available from the AppSheet editor that provides suggested next steps and links to relevant and useful Help Center articles, videos, and community posts. This page replaces the Learning Center. Client certificate authentication supported with MySQL database servers. You can now use a client certificate to authenticate a MySQL server. So what they're really talking about here is the ability to use a secure socket layer when you're adding your MySQL database to your AppSheet app. Previously, you weren't able to use SSL. Now you can. Smart defaults in AppSheet editor for UX views. Smart defaults enable AppSheet to intelligently set defaults for different entities, such as UX views, in the editor to minimize the number of changes that you, the editor, have to make in order to reach your goal. This has been deployed to 20% of users. So the idea here is if you're making a table view, AppSheet's going to look at your columns, perhaps look at your data, and try and figure out what's the best way that we think this could be configured that would work for you. So for instance, if you have maybe a date column or a status column, perhaps it would automatically group by that automatically for you. Maybe it would take some of the columns and put them in a column order. So you have the things that it thinks that are important. They put them up front, and then all the other ones. You know what I mean? So like all of the little settings that you can do inside View, I'm guessing automation stuff, actions, tasks, things of this nature. They're going to try and automatically set things for you to try and save you time. Welcome modal rollout bug fix. Previously, we had enabled the welcome modals for free users in the editor. There was an issue with the rollout process, which has been fixed, deployed to 40% of users. The drive file picker will always start at the root folder. Previously, users would start at the directory last visited, but would be unavailable to navigate to parent directories. What they're talking about here is when you're using a Google Drive and you're adding, say, a new table to your app, The folder that you would start in when you first initiated that whole the whole pop-up screen, you would start from wherever the last place you were. But that probably meant that I progressed through my drive hierarchy, and so I'm like in a folder here, but I probably need to start at my root folder. They've taken that away. Now you just start at the root folder. A system option was being displayed for the event type selector. This option is no longer displayed. Fixed a bug where the filtering interface would show incorrect labels for enum columns with a ref base type. Instead, they were showing the actual ref ID values instead of the label. Fixes an issue where client evaluation of certain column expressions would fail due to the name being case sensitive. Deployed to 30% of users. Issue with form views containing suggested value expressions with empty extract function. This fixes an issue where a suggested values expression that used an extract function would break a form view if the extract function input was empty. Deployed to 30% of users. Try to navigate back to previous app or app gallery if user declines consent dialog. Currently, if a user declines the consent dialog, they end up stuck on the About page and have to use device or browser back buttons to navigate away. Now, if they came from a previous app, it will navigate back to it. Otherwise, it will take them to the app gallery, except for white labeled apps where the app gallery is hidden. Fixed parameter input assignment for ref actions. A bug was fixed that prevented assigning input parameters when configuring a reference action within the automation side panel. Restore meaningful error messages when Google Doc template file cannot be retrieved. A more meaningful error message is now displayed when Google Doc template files cannot be retrieved. That's everything for this week. I want to thank you for watching this video. I do appreciate it. If you want to show your love, make sure to give this video a like and a subscribe. It really helps grow the channel. If you really want to show your love, you can head on over to my website. I have a merch page where you can get cool t-shirts like this.